Alright guys, so today, I don't know how well you can see me, but the real goal is you're seeing this. Today we're going to kind of wrap up the Farmall Super C. We fixed a couple of the holes in the radiator late last night, and now we're going to work on putting the starter back in. We have converted this machine from its original 6 volt to a 12 volt system with this coil, new plugs and wires, and then we went and had our starter redone into a 12 volt, and I'll show you that in just a minute. That might be better, you might be able to see me. We do have a temporary 12 volt battery in here. This is actually for my yellow truck that you've seen time and time again. But that thing isn't being used right now, so we've got it in the Farmall. My goal today, hopefully we're going to get this starter in, fire it up for everybody, pull it out of the garage, and park it out of the way until, at some point I think we are going to split this tractor. Possibly give it a new head gasket because it does leak a little bit. Probably a valve cover gasket too. But we are going to split the tractor, replace the ring gear that's in there. And that's the part that when the starter engages, it goes in there and spins. It's got a little chewed up. Basically what happened was when we got this tractor, they already had it halfway on a 12 volt system. They had a 12 volt battery, but the rest of it was all still 6 volt. And what it did was it completely burnt out this coil, and it completely, in the process, completely trashed the original 6 volt starter. And basically it was just hitting so hard, it was damaging not only the starter's gears, but the ring gear itself. So that is going to get done. Right now we have it sitting in a good spot in the ring gear. We're only going to move it a couple times. We're going to pull it out because we've got a lot of other jobs coming in we got to get done. And then we got to pull it in again. It's been a pretty cool tractor. Our estimate, we don't think it's ran in about 10 years. The people we got it from, they actually, I believe it was their fathers who passed away. And they were just trying to do what they could to get it running and get it sold to get a little money for the family. And that's where we came across it. We gave it a good power washing because everything was coated in oil, gave it fresh oil, topped off the radiator, and just kind of tuned it up and converted it to a 12 volt, and it runs great. Tires all seem to actually hold a little bit of air. We do have one slow leak in the back one when it gets cold, but that isn't too surprising. Okay guys, so we took our original starter down to the old parts store, and he sent it out to a place down by Grand Rapids to have converted to a 12 volt. And it looks like they slapped some paint on it and tried to clean it up best they could. That was real nice of them. So basically, from what I understand, is they took the internals out of this thing and replaced it with 12 volt parts. It's really simple. So this is the gear I mentioned here that was all chewed up. And this right here, this just hooks to a rod that goes up to by the seat, and when you pull it, you engage this spring, and that's what connects the power given from here to the unit to shove this out and to start spinning the motor. Really simple design. This is exactly what your keys do, only it's just a lever. It's really cool. You can bump start it from standing at the side of the tractor just by doing this. You always want to make sure, really you never should do that, but if you're gonna, you want to make sure the tractor's parking brake's on and it's not in gear, because if it is in gear or the parking brake's not on, there's a potential it could leach forward and really hurt you, if not kill you. Now for this job, we're going to need 3 tools. Some needle nose pliers, a 9/16 wrench, and a 3/4 inch wrench. So it's kind of cool. It's got 2 bolts that go up this way, and then it's got one that I just kind of call a set screw almost, that sits over here. So that goes in and locks it in place, and then the other 2 just tighten it up. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a rag, and I'm just going to wipe the area. Kind of clean it off a little bit. There. Doesn't really help the tractor run any better. It just helps me knowing that well, at least it's a little cleaner. The other thing I'm also going to be using in this video is these Westchester gloves. Now, they don't have to be Westchester, but they're mechanic gloves that have a little padding on the knuckles. I like to wear them because in the wintertime here, when it gets 20 degrees and it's freezing cold, your hands get dry. And when your hands get dry, they break. The skin breaks really, really easy, and when you're wrenching on stuff, you're busting your knuckles constantly. That just gives me a little protection, so if my hand slips, it doesn't bust my hand open. Which is essentially a good thing, especially when I spend my weekends at my grill. My wife doesn't necessarily like it. When my hands are all dirty. Here. So, it's simple as sliding it in like that. Now we're just gonna set it in place with what I call the set screw here. And this goes through the bell housing and into this hole. And when it's in that hole, you know the other two holes are lined up. And I like that because once that set screws in, it stays up there itself. Now, I don't snug it way down. The first thing, because I want to attach this. Try not to be in your guys' way too much, but it might be kind of a hard take. There, just like that. Now, this is the rod that goes up here by where you sit. And then you pull this to start it, to start the tractor. So this tractor doesn't have a key. Now, I do have the old cotter pin, but we decided that a lot of this stuff is rusty, so as we work, we're just going to replace pins. So let me grab that. There. And for pins, we just went on to our favorite Harbor Freight and got the 555-piece set. It's not super expensive. But it is just kind of nice. So, open it up here and try to find one that is roughly the same size. This one's about the same size, but it's a little longer. That might not be too bad. Yeah. Now, this tractor, it seems to run really, really well. So I'm sure a lot of you are asking, or maybe even thinking, who are big tractor fans yourself, are we just going to go ahead and full-on restore this tractor? Well, that's an interesting concept. And unfortunately, right now, it's not in the cards for this year. But, there we go, it started anyways. But it may be in the cards for next year. And our thoughts on that were, I don't know how many of you watch his channel, but there's a guy named Pete from Just a Few Acre Farms. I've been watching him for probably the better of a year now. And I guess I don't know if I'm really supposed to mention other YouTubers or not, but I watch him and I really like his philosophy on go through the getting it running right before taking it all apart and running it. There. Just like to bend those up. Perfect. So now we got to set our 2 bolts. So anyways, as I was saying, his philosophy is run the tractor for a couple years, go through the motor, make sure everything's going to work good for you before you spend all that time and money painting it and taking it apart and cleaning everything. I think it'd be a really cool thing to do. My friend's really excited about it. But we want to use it around our houses a little bit. You know, just clearing brush and turning some dirt and putting a few other things of the sort in. It's a nice tractor. I'm sure it's totally worth getting restored. But, well, we want to... err on the side of caution a little bit. But if a video like that's something you're interested in, as long as everything goes good, that could totally be on the books for next year. And I'm hoping you guys will see this thing in a lot of action this year. Because this is the work I really enjoy doing. I grew up on a farm with my dad, and more or less is how I got my intro into welding, you could say. Was just welding stuff for him on the farm and on his trucks and everything like that. And then that eventually turned into I was welding on all my friends' stuff, and you know, it just grew from there. And then eventually I found YouTube, and that's kind of what made me start this little hobby channel. So for me, wrenching on old tractors like this, it just takes me back to a time where I was little and I was doing it with my dad on our farm. There. That one's pretty tight. And what I like about them is they're so open, it's really easy to get to them. Just gonna snug that one up a little bit more. Oh, and you know what? I totally lied. You do need one more wrench, because you got to be able to put this on. I don't think this is a 9/16. Watch out. No. I thought we needed a 5/8. Okay, so we're just gonna pop these two on. One's going to our ground, the other's going to the kill switch. I'm gonna put that over it. Now, down the line, we might redo these wires. My main thing is today, I just want to get this starter on so I can get it out of here and finish out my week. This is more so just a hobby project and not really a paying job project, so as much as I like doing it, I've got to get the tractor out of the way and get some jobs in here where I can actually profit off of them on it. Gonna knock over the camera. Okay, had to take a short break. The mailman was here. I got some new goodies today. So I'm just tightening up a couple of these bolts that hold everything in place. Let's turn this one the right way. Okay, now it's the hood, battery, and I think we're ready to start it. The hood's really nice. You don't need any tools. You just simply pull these down and hook them, and they hook right in. You want to make sure it goes the right way though. You got 3 holes on the top for the oil, exhaust, and air breather. Air breather, which we're going to have to take off. We want any chance of that thing fitting on there. Now I know some of you are probably thinking, well, Austin, you can't run the exhaust like that. We put a boot over it in the meantime. or a can or something, just so nothing can leak into the motor. And we are going to build it a little new exhaust. We had to cut the old one off because it had a muffler on it and there was no way of getting the hood off. There we go. There was no way of getting the hood off without it. So, we just gave it a quick shot. There we go. One last thing. Now, on all my batteries, I like to run the same kind of battery terminals. And that's these ones with the wing nuts on them. I like it because if all my stuff has the same thing, it's really easy to interchange them. We're going to need to get some kind of bungee cord for this battery though, because it is too big to fit in there nicely like it should. I'm going to get you guys, shine you guys a little light on this project. Yeah, that makes it much better. So, on the old system, you ground the positive terminal, and on the new system, the 12 volt, we're back running like you would grounding the negative. It seemed really weird and backwards, but that's just how they do it. Didn't forget to put my gloves on and I busted my knuckle. Oh well. It's kind of cool going back to the old equipment like this, just because you kind of see the making of how everything started, you know. I think it's cool anyways. So now we just want to tighten up these wing nuts. And I know that battery will stay in there pretty securely. I'm just pulling it outside. And we don't have an alternator on it yet, so honestly, might just get pulled outside and then the battery pulled off. Get a nice shot of the exhaust and of me. Now we do have the one door open for a little ventilation. If it starts, I'm just gonna open the door, move some stuff and back it out. But there's a few things you want to check. Number one, I always make sure the tractor's not in gear. It's gonna be cold, so we'll give it a little bit of a choke. Maybe a quarter throttle. The other really important thing, and I always forget, The other really important thing, and I always personally forget before I try to start it, you got to turn on the gas on old things. Since there's no key to turn on, little things like that we often forget because when we turn the key on in our car, the computer does all that for us. Here it's all manual. Kind of cool. One more time. Now it's gonna go. Kind of a tight fit. Oh yeah, this is nice. I'm curious to see how it does in the snow. So we're gonna take it out back for a spin real quick, and then we'll park it.